Unity of Houston is an inclusive church where we seek to understand and live the teachings of Jesus and other spiritual masters. At Unity, we welcome all people from all spiritual paths and every walk of life. We celebrate the diversity of our city and of our world, and we teach love, tolerance, and oneness, seeking to live in harmony with open minds and open hearts.
Wherever you are in your spiritual path, you are always welcome at Unity. Join us and discover that the life of your dreams is already within you.
Let's put our hands together. I release and I let go. Come on. I let the Spirit run my life. And my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for gold. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith, I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for gold. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God.
Thank you, Boris. We are only here for God, and if you don't like that word, choose another. We are in the Christian household of the world's religion, so we will hear us use a lot of Christian language, God, Holy Spirit, and Jesus. But I want you to know that if those words trigger you in any way, we're probably meaning them different than the way you grew up with. All faiths are welcome here at Unity. We honor all faiths, and we draw from all faiths. But truly, our individual connection to Spirit, to the universe, is the way that we enter into our spirituality. So I don't know why that's not the sermon today. I don't know why I just felt like I didn't do that. I guess because we had a lot of first-time visitors. I just want to let you know that. Okay, good night. Thank you. What I've noticed is that parenting is really tough. There's a lot of pressures on parents today. And so one particular mom, she was really struggling with the balance of it all, work, life, home, getting the kids where they needed to be, and she was really feeling kind of frazzled, and she was needing some reassurance, and she saw her son in the living room, and she comes up to him and says, "Ethan, honey, do you think I'm a bad mom?" And he looks up at her with wide eyes, and he smiles and says, "My name is Jonathan." I don't mean to trigger anybody's mom guilt. I was telling Karen, my mom usually calls me by both my brother's names before she gets to mine, so it's all right. Don't take anything personally. We're in the second of our four-part study of Don Miguel's amazing book. I think we can call it a classic at this point, The Four Agreements. Last week, what did we talk about last week? That's right, be impeccable with your word. I'm glad you remembered, because I'm on this week. I'm in the present. Today we're talking about don't take anything personally. The book is available in the bookstore if you haven't had a chance to pick it up. If you don't know it, it's really amazing. Reverend Karen's going to be bringing this series home the next 2 weeks, and I assume she will be impeccable with her word and will do her best. Yeah. And if she doesn't, I won't take it personally. So you have to read the book to get the joke. No, really excited about what Karen's will be bringing the next 2 weeks. So, don't take anything personally. Well, that right there is the answer. Just don't do it. Stop. Quit. When we take things personally, just don't do that. But it's a little bit more complicated than that, isn't it? All right. So today there are three levels that I want to talk to you about how we can enter into this conversation about don't take anything personally. The first is, that's just it. The answer is to stop it. Quit taking it personally, and it will set you free. Amen? But it's easier said than done. So when we do, I'm just going to go ahead and be bold. When you do take it personally, and you will, what do you do then? Well, the practice we take up then is to take responsibility for it. Own our stuff. And then the third level of how we can enter into our work in this work of not taking it personally is that we do this in community. We do this in relationship with other beings who are also occasionally, very rarely I'm sure, taking things personally. And the work that we bring to that is compassion. So today I want to start with the first one. So, I'm going to give you some good news. It's not about you. When they're doing what they're doing that you've been wanted to take personally, it's not about you. They're not doing it to you, they're just doing it. And if you can plug into that reality, it sets you free. Miguel Ruiz, in his amazing book, he says it this way: nothing other people do is because of you, it is because of themselves. All people live their own dream in their own mind. They are in a completely different world from the one we live in. I know some people that are definitely in a different world than the one we live in. When we take something personally, we make the assumption that they know what is in our world, and we try to impose our world on their world. We are not in agreement about the nature of reality. I remember when I was first taught this, it was actually in the 12-step rooms, and somebody said, "They're not doing it to you, Michael, they're just doing it." I didn't even know what language they were speaking. Because have you ever had the experience of someone using your name and pointing at you and telling you that it's about you? What do you mean it's not about me? It's not about you. So if we can get into an understanding of this, that other people are coming from their own perspective, their own way of seeing things, and their own childhood wounds. Everything is being filtered through their own false beliefs. So whatever they're doing, it's more about them than it is about you. Miguel Ruiz also says that when we do take it personally, we're drinking somebody else's poison. We're placing ourselves in hell. And if you're new to Unity, we don't teach heaven and hell as being geographical places that you go, depending on whether you were good or bad at the end of your life here on earth. We teach that heaven and hell are states of consciousness, and we can move there anytime we want. If we align with our truth of our being and we live from the love that we are in heaven, even in our bodies, right here on earth, no matter what they do. But when we take things personally and we get pulled out of that feeling of oneness and connection, we move ourselves into an experience of hell. And it is voluntary. This practice is so powerful. To not take things personally is the keys to the kingdom, to freedom and peace in your life. So, don't do it. Don't do it. Stop it. Quit it. Just no more. And then you're done, right? Well, there are two ways that ministers teach. One is from their expertise, their excellence, and their mastery. And the other is from the thing they're still learning. I'm the middle of three boys, and even though we grew up in the same tiny little house and had the same parents, we evidently had different worlds we grew up in. I was the sensitive kid. I was the one who took things personally. This has been a lifelong journey for me of healing my need to please. Anybody the other recovering people pleasers out there? Okay, yeah, so you know what I'm talking about. That if someone doesn't like something and they say I didn't do it right, my job is to fix it for them. That was my job in my family of origin, was to be the golden boy, was the one to make everybody happy and make everything right. Nobody told me that was my job, and I don't remember having interviews for it. But somehow I knew that was mine to do, and I did it. But luckily, happily, gratefully, I have been on a path of healing and recovery for many, many years. And sometimes I even now know when I'm doing it. Isn't that good? It's getting a lot better. But the second level of our work is when we do take things personally, what do we do? Well, the first thing I want to be aware of is that there are I'm not a therapist, and I don't play one on TV. I won't pretend to have the right language, but I use the words trigger and hook. Like last week I talked about when my dad yelled at me at 40 and I became 4 years old immediately. That was a trigger. Something, it just bypassed my reasoning and my ability to respond in a healthy spiritual way, and I became 4 years old immediately. Those triggers are really important to be aware of, and we all have them. That something will happen, and then suddenly we have shifted and regressed into an earlier way of being emotionally. Our work is to take that responsibility that we did that. Even though, and so the other thing too, somebody told me at a 12-step meeting that the reason your mother pushes your buttons is because she installed them. Just passing on what worked for me, that's all I'm doing. And it may take you a few moments after you've been triggered before you can come back to center and really own what you've done. And it may take weeks, but the work is to come back to the truth and own it. Have you ever been in a relationship with someone who is always right? Yes. If you haven't, then you're that person, just so you know. And let me tell you, you are no picnic. Yeah, I'm a Taurus, and I always, I kind of was skeptical of astrology and stuff, and in my 20s, I would tell people, I am nothing like a Taurus. I'm not opinionated, I'm not strong-headed, and I was about 28 years old when I realized the reason I didn't think I was opinionated was because I took my opinion as fact. I'm not opinionated, I'm right. So, if you have the pleasure of being in a relationship with someone who's right all the time, you know how hard that is. There's no ability to heal and grow if both parties aren't willing to look at their own stuff and take responsibility. Now, sometimes, and if you get in a healthy, growing, spiritually aware relationship, we have arguments about whose stuff this is. Is this your stuff? I thought this was my stuff. No, I think this is your mom's stuff. No, I don't. I think it's your brother's stuff is what's up. It's your jealousy stuff. No, this is my stuff. And it gets a little confusing sometimes, and that's okay. But the important thing, the second level of working with this idea of don't take things personally, is to be responsible for your response. The trigger, it happens, you have no thought, you're there. The hook is a little different for me. The hook is like, I can feel it, but I still have a choice here. Like somebody has said something or done something, and I feel some emotional pull to react in a certain way, but I have enough presence of mind that I can choose my words for a moment or two. But it's good to be aware. And I believe that by practicing healthy living and conversations and taking responsibility and learning to live in this way, and also spiritual practice is key. Spending time in the silence, spending time with good spiritual teaching, you will find that your ability to respond, you'll get a half a second more after about 35 years of doing this work. And that is like winning the lottery. If you can just have a little bit of space before you jump in, taking things personally, to take a breath. I think this is my stuff that got triggered. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to send that email right now. I'm not going to say those words. Sometimes the best way to bring healing to the situation is to turn around and walk out of the room. So, this is our work, is to be responsible when we take things personally. Because here's the deal. The first one I said it's not about you. In this one, it actually is all about you. Because the agreement that you make with your own inadequacy is what drives the trigger and the what's the other word I'll use? Hook. That's it. Because if someone says you're stupid, if you don't believe yourself to be stupid, you'll be like, what? But if you have some old belief and some old shame around something, that's where the hook and the trigger get you. So Miguel Ruiz says it is actually our agreement with the thing that happened that we took personally, that's how we get hooked. that we're agreeing with our own lack and limitation. So our healing is to release those false beliefs, to stop agreeing with the inadequacy, to let it go. And that brings us to my third thing I want to talk about today is, the world we live in. I have seen a lot of people taking a lot of stuff personally lately. Have you? Yes. Maybe I've dabbled in that a little bit myself, but it's mostly other people. But I'm just saying that we have taking a lot of things personally. Last week we had a wonderful workshop. My partner John presented to us on the Course in Miracles, and he created an exercise just for us last week. It was amazing. There's a concept in the Course in Miracles that talks about the Circle of Atonement. And you may have heard that atonement doesn't mean paying for sins. It's at-one-ment. It's coming back into recognition of oneness and wholeness. And so we were standing in circles of 6 or 8 people, and one by one we were to choose someone that takes us out of our peace. And then we were to ask someone else in the circle to represent that person. And we didn't tell them who it was or what the thing was. We just said, will you be that? And the moment we chose the person, what they were supposed to do for us is to grab our hand and take us out of the circle. So I did this. I was taken out of the circle, and I realized, I knew that already. I had an awareness of it, but now to have this physical experience of when I judge somebody, I am the one who gets taken out of my oneness, my wholeness, my connection with God. Jesus said, judge not lest you be judged. The same measure you judge will be judged unto you. Why do you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your own eye when you have a log in yours? First, remove the timber from your own eye, and then you can see clearly to help your brother. See, Jesus understood this idea of oneness and the circle of atonement. That when I am in judgment, when I judge anyone else to be less than a child of God, expressing the life of God, I have taken myself out of the circle. So what do we do? So the answer here is clearly to come back to the mystical knowing of all life is one, and I simply just feel that all is right with the world, and that's perfect, right? Who can get there on a regular basis? If you should be up here, if you can just move into that space like that. I've had it. I've had moments where I can see something happening in the world, and I have this feeling more in a heart more than words, but I see that every person is playing their part in the song of the universe. I get it. I feel it. But most of the time, I know it here, but I don't have that embodied feeling of it. So what do we do instead? I believe the practice that we are looking for is compassion. His Holiness the Dalai Lama defines compassion as where love meets pain. There are certain public figures that are causing people to take things personally lately. Have you noticed? I may have dabbled. But what I'm aware of today is this practice of compassion. I will see that beneath the ego and whatever it is I'm judging in this person or these people, beneath that is pain. Beneath the ego's bluster and need for power is a feeling, a fear of insecurity, a fear of powerlessness, a sense of shame. And I know that. I know what it's like to feel pain and shame. So my love can meet the pain. And then I can move into a place of remembering who I am. I come back into the circle, even including those who I would judge, include them in the circle of God's good. I don't know why this is the way life on earth is set up. Some people say it's soul agreements, but I do know it's this, that we have come here to remember who we are and to reveal the truth of who we are to each other, and that somehow is the miraculous evolution of spiritual life. Rumi said, it's like we've been sent here from a far-off kingdom with but one task. If we accomplish this task, all else that we do or do not do will not matter. And if we do not accomplish this one task, nothing else we do or do not do will matter. This task is the discovery and the delivery of the authentic self. I don't know what your childhood wounds are. I don't know what your triggers are. I don't know the things that you're struggling with your judgment and you're taking things personally. But I will tell you this, your particular stuff is perfect. And it is the way that God is seeking to be made real through you. The Apostle Paul, in the second letter to the Corinthians, he talked about his thorn in the flesh. My Bible people will remember that passage. This was a man who had a tremendous experience with the risen Christ, and he changed completely from a persecutor of the new Christians to their leader and the builder of the Christian faith. And he was deeply committed to God, and yet he struggled. And in the 12th chapter of 2 Corinthians, he talks about it. And he said, 3 times I prayed to have this removed from me. And in 2 Corinthians 12:9, Spirit spoke to him and said, my grace is sufficient for you. My strength is made perfect in your weakness. Wherever your struggle is, wherever the place of pain for you today is, if you're willing to be open, to acknowledge it, and to invite God into the situation, this is your healing, and your great wound becomes your great gift to the world. But this is not always neat work. It's a mess sometimes being a spiritual person. Somebody who's really committed to doing the deep work and really putting it out there and examining it, it is not always easy. I was told that spiritual community is where we come to grow up all over each other. But I have been healed and transformed in the context of spiritual community, and I believe in it, and that's what we're trying to build right here at Unity. We're trying to build the kind of place where people can be real and bring their struggle as well as their triumph, and have people pray for each other like we did for our Boris, that we can come together. I had an experience a few years ago in spiritual community. We had a ministerial change, and we were changing the name of the church. You think I'm trying to change some stuff? Try changing the name of a church. I'll tell you, it brought up people's stuff. People took it personally. I was one of them. We had a big congregational meeting, and the name was, this is what we're changing the name to, and we took a vote, and I didn't vote for it. I was not happy about it. I was triggered. I had my hook, whatever that thing I just said was. I was not happy. I took it personally. And my minister, my friend, came to me after and held my hands and said, are we okay? And I said, well, I feel like you just bulldozed us in that meeting. And she was like, well, tell me more. And she sat with me and held my hands and looked in my eyes, and we worked through it. She's still one of my greatest friends and greatest teachers, my prayer partner. We talk every week. It was hard, but that's what spiritual community is. We come together in the hard times and we tell the truth to each other as best we can, and we don't leave. I'm asking you to stay as we find our way to the changes, and not everything is going to change. Some things are. We'll find it together. I don't have all the ideas. I've got some, but we're finding the way we are to move forward, to be more relevant, to be more vital in this world. The world needs our teaching now more than ever, and I am committed to making us available. But I need you to stay in the room with me. Have the conversation. Let our hearts be open to each other. My God, something is happening here. And it is beautiful. And you are amazing. And I love you. God bless you. Thank you for watching this message today. I'd like to invite you to join us in person here on campus at Unity of Houston for Sunday morning or Wednesday evening services. If you can't be with us here on our campus, you can still join us live on Facebook or on our website, unityhouston.org, Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. Central.